Welcome, Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by 10th Man, Brian's Logic, Refracted Curvature, Neil and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, everyone. Hey, hey, hey.
Wait, but I'm here in Gilded.
Not in Gilded, now you're in Discord. Gilded was a short-lived thing, eh? It was so good, it had so much potential and so much promise, and we may go back to it at some point. But no, alas, we are back on Discord. Memories. Right, let's do a bit of housekeeping. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
You mean like a hill of water for boats to go over?
Yeah, basically a physical hill in the way of things that go over it. An edge for boats to drop over, claimed to be Earth curve.
Well, I've never seen a hill of water, so...
You know what? It doesn't behave that way. No, that's right. I mean, you might have seen a
Hold
wave.
on. Aren't we supposed to have the edge? I always remember saying that, where's your edge?
Yeah,
The
it's something,
flat earthers, but they have an edge.
that's correct. It's something I'm on the vibe of at the moment. Whenever you've got a challenge presented to you or a straw man reification that's presented to you as your model, try to bear in mind that there's normally a reason behind that, which is to say that the person making you do that or making you explain that has often actually got the positive or the positive claim to defend in that regard. So with flat earthers, it's us being presented with a pizza pie model flying up at the rate of gravity's suggestion in Einstein's mechanics through a sky vacuum in the heliocentric world with an edge, boats falling off it, and we're asked about the edge for the flat earth and have we found it and boats falling off it and will we fall off it. That's the general vibe that Neil's describing, right? Well, why is that? Well, because in reality, the globe Earth has a positive claim to defend, which is that there's a hill at the horizon called Earth curve that boats will fall over, and you can measure how much they've fallen over it. So in literal terms, that is the edge of the Earth that they say proves the Earth is a sphere, with boats falling over that edge, the edge of Earth curve. So hence we get asked about our edge and our boats that fall over it, because that is very specifically their claim of their proof of their positive assertion, extraordinary though it is, of the Earth being a sphere. The horizon's claim to be Earth curve. Now we have debunked this. Black Swan.
Hello.
Hey, Arwin.
Hey.
I'll just say, Nathan, I posted a picture the other day on social media. It's a picture of a boat seemingly to be disappearing over their so-called horizon. And I just put a question. Is this Earth curve? And a Glober or anti-flat earther replied saying, me, one deck is so dumb, it's hilarious. But I was just pointing out, this is your claim. It's his claim, and he's calling me dumb now for pointing his own claim out.
Yeah, we had with the Black Swan, shockingly. So we point out that if the Earth was a sphere with a radius of 3959, then every horizon distance measurement could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height of feet, as they assert. It's their positive claim. Now, because we've got the Black Swan image to show that the horizon's beyond the geometric limitations they assert is an edge for boats to fall over, we can say that the Earth is not a sphere and the horizon is not Earth curve. Response from the anti-flat earthers. Saying if the Earth's a sphere radius 3959, then every distance to the horizon can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet is a straw man. Excuse me, that's your claim. That's the literal definition of what the horizon claimed to be Earth curve is laid down in the maths to be. But they told us it was a straw man because we were saying it. So it's like Simon Dan when he starts telling me you and your reference frames are ruined because we disseminate what the globe Earth actually claims and then debunk it. What they hear as thick idiots like Simon Dan is the first part of the claim, which is actually their claim, and they debunk that. So what's that you say? If Earth turns underneath stuff, we'll have drift. Well, I'll debunk that. No, that's your claim that we're summarising before debunking it. Didn't you listen to the end, Dan? You just thought you'd debunk the summary of your own bloody claim. That's how thick the people we deal with that go straight to the top of the search results in YouTube. Idiots that debunk their own claim because they've heard a flat earther say it.
Don't forget conspiracy cats. Without the container, there can be no pressure.
Right. Exactly. That's the kind of muppet we deal with. The kind of person that affirms their own debunking, or tells us that their own claims are straw man, or debunks the very necessary reference frames for their own claim because I've stated them. You're just like, my God, these people are completely idiotic. Hell, send them to the top of the search results. Trusted content, says YouTube.
Sorry, I was saying the other guy, at best you've debunked the radius. I don't think they ever think things through. I think they just shoot out of their lips.
No, they do. That's the problem. These people aren't that thick. They're actually going through the process of realisation of what it means to assert that you're measuring a geometric horizon at the sphere edge to get radius. And when you haven't got a sphere edge to measure because we've debunked it with the black swan, then at best you've debunked the radius. It's a logical implication. So he's recognised the logical implication and verbalised it. Yeah? So he's not that stupid, but by implication of his verbalisation of the consequence of not having a geometric edge to measure for an R value to make all of your claims with, the implication is he doesn't have a Earth curve edge or an R value or a claim in the first instance. He just didn't take it that step further. But he can recognise where his own claim's debunked and stated it was. At best, you've debunked the radius. Yeah, the premise for everything you assert with a sphere, belief behind it.
Yes, that's what I mean, exactly.
Rumpus also says that the radius only exists in the maths. So it's another concession.
Exactly, it's a concession. Speaking of which, any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
It only exists in the math below surface level.
It's inferred.
You just don't understand. The math is in the paper, so.
Can you explain that, John?
As opposed to at the horizon, where it's claimed to be in the math.
Correct. Yeah, it's in the math.
Yeah, but at the horizon, according to the math, but we've debunked that bit. The math saying, marked with an X, labelled horizon, that there's a geometric limitation to your view at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height called Earth curve. That's their claim.
Well, I'm getting a message here from Akuma. Apparently math is reality, so.
There again.
Well, math is reality, so, you know.
And math's not reality. Maths is a language, a way of describing things, conceptual in nature. Physics is reality. Physics is the physical.
Well, you just don't understand.
The physical and natural.
Any scientific evidence of gravity, as we're on the subject of physicals and physicality and physics?
What is
Hello. Just a quick point before you move on from the first question. This one is the 10th. I was just wondering if I could employ him to help me with a bit of research. In the sinking of the Titanic, there was an inquiry, and it's called on the Titanic Inquiry Project. And on the 6th and 7th day, this is the British Titanic Inquiry Project. On the 6th and 7th day, the captain of the ship, called the Californian, was being questioned as to whether they actually saw the Titanic that night when it sank and the distance it was away. And it uses some, nautical references that I had trouble deciphering. I was just curious if 10th would look through that and see what he came up with.
Why?
Okay, it's called Titanic Inquiry Project, and it has a transcript of the testimonies from those days as this captain, his name was Captain Stanley Lord. He was the captain of the Californian, and it's very interesting reading.
Yeah, but why?
As to what, because of the distance it was away, he had a real hard time because he didn't rush over to the Titanic to help them for various reasons. One being, one question that came up was, could he see it from where he was, and how far away was he?
Of course he couldn't see it. It was behind a bulge.
So, okay, is there a conclusion? Is there
well, this is what... Oh, no, I just thought we're talking about distances where the horizon was. And this was a official document. And they're actually arguing as for whether he could see the distance that he could see. And it was a very important part of history. So I just thought, hey, look, are people's perception of the Earth really affecting how they act? Because there was also a question about...
Stop. I get all that. Okay, but I'm gonna use it as a tool to point out why that's bad and why you shouldn't do that. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So that's been done. Lots of people point out, here's where a boat is supposed to be on the horizon and where it isn't supposed to be on the horizon, and there's some zooming in and seeing it, and whether or not someone can see something at a given distance or not. Yeah, that was all we talked about up until 1st Jan 2020. Now, the reason that all changed 1st Jan 2020 was because in the specific image, so if you forget about modus tollens in the argument for a second, as I repeat it so often recently, the image itself, dubbed the Black Swan, is quite special for a number of reasons. You can denote specific distances with something that's in the ground, like attached to the ground. Now, it's got to see all around it, but it is at a very specific set distance. So about 6.5 and about 9.5 miles for the two different platforms. Platform Hill House and Platform Habitat in that image. The Black Swan. The Black Swan. There are many more. There has been more before and after, but this is the one we are talking about. Now, because they're at a very specific set distance, you can say, this is where geometrically Earth curve must be as a limitation. And here's where the horizon is. And because you've got a literal marker in your view, in the camera picture, you can say this is this distance, 9.2 miles or whatever it is, about 9.5 miles. And here is the horizon, without doubt, beyond that. Therefore, it is the horizon. It is at beyond 10 miles, say. It's probably a lot further. But you can't measure it. But you can show how it is beyond these oil rigs. So when you compare that to, well, how far did someone say you could or couldn't see something in the Titanic's instance? Well, that doesn't give us a denotation of something that you can really peg down to. Where's Earth curve going to get in the way if it's a hill? Well, it's going to get in the way exactly as they say it will, at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. So that's where it should be, if the Earth's a sphere, blocking the view of these oil rigs. Because it's at 1.2 miles if you're at 1 foot observer height. That's it, you're at 1.2 miles out, there's your hill, blocking your view, the edge of Earth, for the boats to be blocked by, remember? The oil rigs aren't blocked by them. The blockage, the hill that they claim it is, Earth curve, is behind them. Well, if it was a hill in the way, it wouldn't move behind them. But you can show that with accuracy because of the detailed and very well laid down distances to the marker points, the oil rigs. So back in the day when we first laid this out, they're like, what about refraction in the oil rigs? What about it? Makes absolutely no difference to the argument. The argument's about the horizon. All the oil rigs are used for is to mark how far the horizon isn't. It's beyond them. Does it matter if they're completely wibbly wobbly? No, not in the slightest. What's that? Refraction's real? Yeah, definitely. Yeah, strange crap going on in the air, isn't there? Meanwhile, hills, physical obstructions, they don't move. We wouldn't be able to see anything of the oil rigs. Let's be honest. There'd be a hill in the way. There isn't. It's behind them. So it's not Earth curve. That's the end of the argument. But only because I can lay down their maths, their hill, and how far it would be, and show that it isn't with accuracy and marker points. There you go.
Okay, I get all of that. I just thought it would be of interest because different people are interested in different things. And in the case of myself, in my own experience, the person was reading this book about the Titanic, and this person would not have any interest in flat Earth, but it was a point of discussion when this question came up because it dealt with latitudes and distances, and it ranged from like 12 miles to 30 miles as to whether this person on the deck of the ship could see the other ship. But because it was in the context of the Titanic story, this person took a real interest. But like you said, as far as FED is concerned, yes, the question is closed, no doubt about it. I just thought it would be, because there are other things too that they use, like during the war, that could the Germans send a signal over to guide planes to more accurately bomb? It's a historical thing, but it comes up in the context, and that's of interest. But like you said, you are completely right, no question. Thanks.
Yeah, it's always buying into their methodology of assertion when you start talking about the distance that something travels over the surface, i.e. observer and target, as opposed to tying it down to the physical geometric hill claimed to be in the way. They try and make their proof about the object in the distance and how much it's obscured, and they shy away from talking about it as Earth curve when they're qualifying what proves Earth curve in the Earth curve maths. Deal with the dirty business of it being the horizon in the title, so you never have to mention it again. All you have to talk about is how many feet and inches of this building's blocked. You don't have to say by Earth curve. And if you do, you say by the horizon without actually directly inferring that what you're saying is there's a hill in the way. But that is what they're saying. So let's tie it down to what they're claiming. They're claiming, without wanting to actually say it, the horizon's a hill in the way. Let's prove how it isn't, as opposed to talk about what we might or might not see beyond that hill if we assume it could or couldn't be in the way. Is there a hill in the way? No, there isn't. Here you go. Black swan. It's not a hill. It's not in the way. It's not Earth curve. What's that? Refraction? Well, where are you getting the R to refract it with? From the geometry that you measure at the physical limitation hill and its geometric nature? No, you won't be. If it's refracted, that's the end of your argument also, because you need geometry to make this claim. You need R to make this claim. You need to measure R at the horizon being Earth curve for your claim. So if it's not Earth curve, it's a refraction, then it isn't Earth curve. So it's game over. But we need to be able to actually show that with distances, and that's what the Black Swan does.
Well, Nathan, I've actually had people say that there is a curve in the Black Swan. There's a hill of water.
The oil rig there, not a hill of water.
Sorry, hold on one second.
Bottom of the oil rig. What's blocking the bottom of the oil rig? What's blocking the bottom of the oil rig there?
Nothing.
Not a hill of water. So yeah, actually, that's exactly what it is.
What's blocking the bottom of the oil rig? Well, a hill of water.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what it is. Well, it's not being blocked. The hill Earth curve's behind it. They're babbling on about. They're just delusional.
Yeah, I mean, literally, he's saying there's a hill of water in between you and the oil rig.
Now, there would be if we hadn't shown that there isn't by showing the entirety of the oil rigs and the horizon behind it. In his mind, but there should be a hill in the way. Yeah, but there isn't. That's what we're showing you, you stupid idiot.
Yeah. Yeah, I tell him directly in this clip. I say there's not a hill of water.
What's blocking the bottom of the oil rig there? Not a hill of water. So yeah, actually, that's exactly what it is. Okay, look at how much is actually hidden. Okay, buddy.
So there's a hill not blocking the bottom of it. There is. It's not blocking it. Idiots.
Yeah, I've got him in text saying the exact same thing. It's hilarious.
Awesome.
Well, is that them falling into their own trap? Kind of like he's got to assert the Earth curve math, right? And from the picture, it looks like the bottom, there's some of the bottom of the platform missing. So that has to be Earth curve. That's all it can be.
he's falling into the National Geographic problem. So the National Geographic problem was when they went out on the lake, looked at a boat, and watched how the bottom of the flags sort of get squashed together, and then you lose the bottom of the stripe on the bottom of the flag at the boat at the back, and in the distance, that's Earth curve doing that. Excuse me. Hello. The horizon's behind it. Yeah, that's Earth curve squashing the. Really? The horizon, the physical leading edge of a sphere that the boat's gone over to squash that flag, the horizon is behind it. That's the National Geographic Black Swan. As I say, there are many Black Swans, but this one, the one with the oil rigs, is ours. The National Geographic Black Swan is their boat, claimed to have a flag disappearing because Earth curve's getting in the way, when what's supposed to be Earth curve, the horizon's behind the bloody boat. It's in the distance. Ooh.
Yeah, that's kind of like their own trap they set. It's like setting up a bear trap and then you put your foot in it whenever they do that.
Yeah.
That came out pre-Black Swan, so none of us pointed it out until Black Swan came out. And we're, hang on a second, let's go and have a look for a few more Black Swans. And what do you know, National Geographic's got one. Awesome job. But they didn't see it, we didn't see it, nobody saw it. Everyone just explained, well, the flag's got compression. Well, it's perspective. Blah, 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 blah. Right? Yeah, wake up, all you flat earthers who are still arguing that stupid nonsense in false dichotomy. We've advanced beyond that now. You subscribe today if you actually want decent arguments. We were the ones with them when they first came out. We're the ones with them now because nobody's using them. Because you want to argue about what causes the flag to compress. All right, who gives a shit? They say the horizon's Earth curve. And we address that head on directly and debunk it. The horizon isn't Earth curve. Especially when we can show what Earth curve beyond the thing you're saying is the effect of it being blocked by it when it's behind it. No, no, no. That's absurd and ludicrous to anybody with half a brain. Literally, you'd have to be incredibly stupid not to recognise that if you're claiming the horizon blocks things on its Earth curve, whatever the effect you show in the near foreground, it isn't going to be that if the horizon's behind it. As it shows on screen. Void, marked with an X, labelled horizon, physical in nature, geometric by assertion. Their Earth curve's dead. It's the edge, the one that we get told we need to explain on a pizza pie going up through space, on a flat Earth society pancake. Yeah, that's not our claim. It's really theirs. It's a burden of proof reversal that they need to instigate. Why are there so many layers? We've covered this a bit recently as well. I want you all to pipe up. Why is there so many layers to this onion of flat Earth ridicule? Because they can't censor us. Because their world's based on our world being a flat world, a flat Earth that you measure to give you the globe. So you can't censor us out of existence. You've got to do something else. Well, you can't get rid of them because that means getting rid of our own bloody globe model. What can we do with them? Ridicule them. Don't censor them because that would be terrible, because obviously then you've got to censor out part of our own bloody model, which wouldn't be very wise. So let's not do that. But make sure everybody knows that if you actually think the world is flat like it's measured for navigation and building stuff, then you're an idiot, because we've got the religion of globe. But just don't think beyond the religion of globe. And any numpty who says, I haven't thought beyond the religion of globe, they can go to the top of the lists instead of the people saying, look here, we actually measure it flat though. Can't get rid of this.
Interesting flat Earth religion, heliocentrism is.
It is exactly that. It's an interesting flat Earth offshoot. A religion that developed out of measuring flat planes was heliocentrism. That's why we can't be gotten rid of. Even if we're kept in a corner being irritating to all the anti-flat earthers in the same corner, even though they don't realise it. Why do you think we're here? Why are you allowed the same titles and tags? If we were just going to be censored, you wouldn't be here either. That was my attitude up until about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Well, surely they would have to be censored too. Well, we can't be gotten rid of because now there's loads of people with flat earth in their titles and tags. They're just pushed at the list as trusted content. So we're mixed in with them in the same pool, right? Yeah, why? Why would it be necessary? Just get rid of us, right? If Bigfoot was a massive deal and it was causing unrest in the Western population, they would censor Bigfoot nonsense out of existence. They could. They'd be perfectly legitimate in doing. Same with ghosts. Same with anything, really. If it needs censoring because it's causing problems and it's total nonsense, you'd have to get rid of it. That's what censorship's for, right? Well, why not just do that to us? Well, you can't. You need flat Earth. It's part of your globe. It's part of the derivation of your models and maps. Globe projections, no, they came from flat Earth elevation angle measurements to Polaris. The equatorial plane? Even if you use a globe, you're going to be putting it in a flat pancake in the middle of it, with you at the molten iron core measuring angles. It's nonsense. You need flat Earth. It's part and parcel of your geometry. So you can't censor us. Just replace us with crap, with idiots. Make sure they're as stupid as possible. That's why we've got people like Dave. Why would you put a fraud and a charlatan to the top of the list? Well, because you need to make anything flat Earth related seem as dumb as possible, even in the anti-flat Earth people who are claiming to undo us. In our reality that the world is measured flat with elevation angles, now get Dave at the front. Some numpty dipshit. Get bloody Simon Dan. Get the thickest people you can to the top of the list. Because then it still makes the whole thing look stupid, doesn't it, from the top down? Even if they're disagreeing with it. Doesn't matter if they completely contradict themselves. They're still in the same corner as us. So who cares? Shove them all over there. Their shit show, clown show of flat Earth. 90% idiocy at the top of the list. Off you go. Have fun. You won't find anything out. Unless you've been around since 2015. In which case you already know. Anyway, enough of my bitching.
If they deny us that, you know, you're saying the ridicule purpose. It's a bit like the Matrix, isn't it? It has to be there, otherwise, I've got Morpheus' quote. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You've felt it your entire life. Like there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. And if flat Earth wasn't there to appease that splinter, now you can appease it by laughing at it. But if it wasn't there, I think there'd be a lot more people raising this question if there wasn't the bank of ridicule. It's very important that it's not ignored this point, but that it's dealt with in a way that enables you to ignore it.
Exactly. And by flipping the burden and getting flat earthers originally to buy into the feast of nonsense, burden of proof reversal by explaining our pizza pie and boats falling over it, or our dome, instead of arguing for gas pressure not being possible if we haven't got containment, we're trying to fight for a glass dome over us that we haven't claimed. Same thing as trying to fight for an edge of a pizza pie that we don't claim.
Yeah, there's a guy in chat right now claiming ice walls, that we claim ice walls. But I heard he's a newbie, so we'll give him a little slack.
Yeah, just don't bullshit. If you don't know something's true, don't
Send
claim
him to Anthony Riley.
Was it Riley?
No, if somebody's... But that was one of the things that we had here that's assumed to us, and that you do when you start off. You kind of... You have to figure everything out yourself to get to that point that, why would I even think there's an ice wall there? What preconceptions have I got that I'm saying to myself, that seems plausible?
It's just a straw man, isn't it? I mean, the immediate response should be to right away feedback that with, oh, here's a question for you. How do you have gas pressure without a container? Right? Just move on. They move on to something ridiculous that they want you to get all preoccupied with. Just do it immediately right back.
When you nail them to the wall like that, you know what they say? Have any of you guys done any science? So all these people out there doing science.
Right. So then they have to get one step more retarded about it. But yeah, what are you going to do?
Well, what we're going to do is share the show, because that's the way to combat this. It's the only way. It's always been the way. I say it every show. I say it at the beginning because of this. Yeah, if you want this information, we've got the best possible information. Let's not beat around the bush about what we do here. We're absolutely hyper-focused on this topic. There are very few channels that actually do that. Debay's one of them. It does occasionally branch off on stuff, but I make videos about computers occasionally, so it's not like it's that big a deal. But ultimately, there are very, very, very few channels that are hyper-focused on this subject. And as far as I am concerned, I don't mind blowing our own trumpets, we're the best at this. Flat earthing. So, if you want flat earth to do better, then the general populace of flat earthers have got to have better arguments. They've got to be able to actually convince people when they have this subject brought up. Not fall into the traps of explaining how we've got a dome or explaining how boats fall over our edge, and realising that you need to get back on track with the burden of proof in place, how it should be, with the Glober justifying his explanation for his edge that his boats fall over, or her gas pressure without a container, as she burns her bra at the Carmen line in lieu of gas pressure violating natural law. Get them to explain their claim rather than justifying your dome.
Right. Or you just say geometric horizon, black swan.
Why do sun sets, you ask? Well, I haven't made any claims about what the sun is or why it sets. Meanwhile, you've got a physical limitation to the sun, haven't you? You've got an Earth curve edge blocking it. We've debunked that. Should we talk about how you've got an Earth curve edge for a horizon? Because I haven't made any claims about it. Is the response you need to learn. And we'll teach it you. But you've got to share the show if you want others who are doing the same thing to be better at flirting.
What they do, what the opposition do is, like at present, there is no measurement, and nor will there be a measurement of Earth curvature, because it doesn't exist. But their proof that the Earth is a globe is that there is no proof that it's a globe. Their proof that the Earth is rotating is that there is no proof of rotation. And what they do is they try and gaslight people who are flat earthers, who ask them these questions, and make it seem like the flat earther is stupid and just doesn't understand when the flat earther points out that, or just somebody, a normal person, doesn't have to be someone who's a full-fledged flat earther, but someone who's just a normal person, who points out a contradiction. If the Earth was rotating, how come this isn't happening? And then they get laughed at as if that person is stupid, because what they're trying to do is gaslight the situation and make the person believe that they are stupid for thinking this thing, and that it's obvious, but anyone with any intellect and understanding and knowledge would know that what this person is pointing out, which is a real world contradiction to their claim, is stupid, and only a stupid person would point this out. So they want people to believe that no evidence for their claims is the evidence for their claims, and they want you, as an everyday person, to think you're stupid if you point out that what they're claiming as evidence is not evidence, or what they're claiming should happen that would result in the X, Y, or Z effect that is not seen. And so they want to then make the person believe that they're stupid in some way for pointing this out, and they just have a lack of knowledge.
Right, so peer pressure. It's just peer pressure, right? Because in the end, if you face them, you can get them to summarize it. They probably won't do it as soon as they figure it out. They'll tell you, we wouldn't expect to see the horizon as a geometric thing. Neither would we expect to see any Coriolis deviation, nor, I mean, gravity holds down the gas, even though we don't know what it is. And if we even had some kind of clue as to what gravity is, then still, as a force, which is the only way it's tenable, it wouldn't be able to hold that gas pressure to the container. But it's no problem because we're breathing gradient. It's a ball, damn it. It's a ball.
No, you can't have gas pressure without a container. Quick couple of shout-outs to Sasha or Unitox Femu, who says, Lighthouse on 20 miles, Lighthouse, Island on 10 miles, Island, Mountain on 50 miles, Mountains, Nature, Refraction, don't trust your senses, logic. Okay, thank you very much for the super chat and also for the extra super chat you dropped straight afterwards. Really appreciate the support. This is behind the scenes with the clapperboard. Thank you very much, Sasha, or Unitox Femu. Really appreciate the support. And also, shout out to Skeptic936, who just gives me money. Thank you very much. Really appreciate the support, both of you. Thank you very much indeed.
What did you think of my Baldwin summary? Pretty good, right?
I love the passion.
Yeah, I was going to say, most of these arguments, though, fall apart the minute you ask them to define terms.
Yeah, let's define the
horizon.
horizon.
Why do you want to be unreasonable like that, John? Eh? What an unreasonable demand of yours to actually define the meanings of the words before you progress. Of course they're going to lose if you're going to be that strict.
Yeah, that's really what it comes down to, isn't it? They're working out of ignorance. All of their arguments are from ignorance.
Start with the word level.
That's why I asked that question. Any evidence that level runs equidistant to the centre of Earth?
You know.
Center.
Yeah, you got to have centre of a presupposed ball Earth, haven't you? Otherwise, you're making a claim, Nathan.
Well, how about a molten iron thingy down there? Is that even true?
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth based on an R value debunked by the Black Swan?
Right. But even if there was no centric thing about it, is there even this molten iron down there? I don't think so. There's no indication that anything is down there, even if you unpresuppose the Earth is a globe.
Well, if you're going to measure it, you'll need a flat baseline.
Well, Arwen, you know, the core isn't a boring blob of iron after all. It's been updated to be super ionic. So,
Yeah, it's got a
yeah,
special
the scientists
coat on
discover
now.
that scientists discover that Earth's inner core isn't solid or liquid; it's super ionic.
Did they
It's
give you
a
the
black
science?
hole. I knew it.
Hold on.
Ironic.
How do you mean you knew it? What's the science offered? I'll just do a quick shout out and then we can go through creation.
I
But if that's
knew
okay
it.
with you. Just one sec, guys. Shout out to Nusnus. Says plain and simple. Support. Well, thank you very much for it. I really appreciate it. Go ahead, Creation Bear.
Well, all you have to do is just run a new simulation, and you've got
Whoa. Simulation, as opposed to establishing cause and effect reasoning through systematic experimentation based on hypotheses.
Well, it's like akin to a CT scan of a person. You run seismic waves, you know, when earthquakes happen, and you bounce waves through the earth. And now we know that the solid core is now super ionic.
So,
P waves.
can you use a CT scan on a piece of stone? Because on flesh, yeah, that works great. How about on stone now? Because that's what P waves and S waves are, right? How does that work?
This
on
is a
stone?
chasing your tail fallacy, isn't it? Really, and I've just made that fallacy up. But it would seem to me that this is a consequence of the previous claim and knowledge coming out, scientific knowledge coming out, which debunks the previous claim. So if you try to assign that the cause of magnetism on your ball Earth has to be certain things that you're used to, like big ferric magnets, then all you do is you turn the center of your ball into that. Now, years later, it has a consequence if we find out about Curie points and pressures and what would happen to that. So what you've then got to do is keep the paradigm. So you can't destroy the unicorns, the molten iron core. What you have to do is make them super ionic so that the behavior that you have now scientifically shown would happen to it now goes a different way, enabling you to maintain the magnetic field of the Earth and maintain the iron center.
I have an alternative. I have a much more viable alternative, and that is
alternative.
It might have been iron, but it's actually a black hole there, and it absorbed it. It's not absorbing the rest of the Earth. But yeah, black holes are known. Hold on, let me do this. Black holes are known to give massive magnetic fields. So wouldn't it make much more sense?
You're off track again, mate. That's not the point we're making. We're not asking you to conjure up more bollocks. I'm demonstrating how more bollocks is a necessary prerequisite of the previous bollocks being undone. It's not a matter of going back to the beginning like you're doing and making up something completely new that's unprovable. They're having to bastardize an already disproven thing with super ionic. That's the point. It's about polishing a turd.
Yeah, Adam here says that
did the same with gravity recently, because, and I have no doubt about it, it's due to it being asked and said on this show. We asked, how come there's no, when they did the moon landings, how come it was all a force of attraction gravity? You know, Cavendish era gravity. How come there was no curvature of space-time? How come there was no general relativity? There was no gravity. There was no anything, because gravity doesn't exist within that model, general relativity. It's only an apparent effect. So when it came to the moon landings, they were using this force of gravity thing, right? You see the fellas jumping around in their spacesuits, right, as if they're on 1/6. They're only 1/6 of weight of their mass only has 1/6 of the weight their mass has on Earth. And now recently they've come out with a thing stating how they didn't use general relativity gravity when they were doing the moon landings. That's basically what they say. What crazy nonsense. But it's the same thing. They're having to take claims that they made and were obvious and now go back and somehow wrangle in some new sideways claim. I don't know what they're at. But it's getting really, really screwed up, what their model.
Quick shout out to Unitox Femo again. Thank you for all the super chats. Really appreciate the support, Sasha. Can we have refraction over a flat surface? Yeah. Even the globers have to describe it that way. Thank you for the super chat.
I just
There
wanted
is no
to say that you guys
refraction.
have been maneuvering away my argument because it was just too devastating.
Yeah, that's what it was, Arwin. You completely annihilated us with that bollocks that you made up. I
No,
mean, that
housekeeping.
great argument.
I have the best bollocks ever.
You do.
Special theory of relativity, where the faster you move,
right,
the slower time ticks for you.
Right.
As
Okay. Should we start getting our teeth sunk into a bit of Neil deGrasse Tyson's bollocks?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I just want to say that Adam is making some very solid points today. Not that he always does, but
Just because Arwin won, don't need to back that horse. It's already lost.
Was that supposed to be a compliment? Because it sounded more like a jab.
No, what I got from that is Adam knows how to polish things.
So, okay,
Adam said I had weak stuff.
enough testicle references. We've got Neil deGrasse Tyson saying that as you travel faster, time, squashes, dilates, what was the word? I've forgotten now because of all this nonsense.
Move slower.
Move slower? So, like in a DeLorean?
88 miles an hour is the magic speed.
Time can be described in mathematical terms. Descriptions of time would be conceptual. Now, while we can describe the passage of time, it doesn't mean that we can bend, dilate, travel through concepts. You can't slow down time, Mr. deGrasse Tyson, you stupid wizard. This is nonsense.
Well, Nathan, it just depends. You have to be traveling at a magic speed.
Turns out there is a magic speed.
As others view it.
Relative to the observer.
Relative to the observer, correct.
So not relative to the speed you're travelling and the time that you can't dilate or change or move up on time and change or anything. It's just nonsense, just relative to the observer. What does that mean? No, time still isn't going to be dilated and you're not going to change the speed of it.
Correct. You don't know anything's happening.
Right.
So it could be that all of this is just nonsense that I've made up. You wouldn't know the difference. Isn't that amazing?
This clock still ticks.
This is Planet of the Apes, isn't it?
That's
this is the
racist.
claim behind the time dilation. So for him moving at great speed in the rocket leaving Earth to return back to Earth, where time's travelled at its normal rate, he comes back still a man, and everybody's evolved into monkeys.
I take it back. It's not
That's the
racist.
premise,
It was a
isn't it?
reasonable
It's time
comparison.
Ticks as far, you've still got your heartbeat, all of this. Okay, so this is not a physiological thing.
Not physiological. What, like dealt with by physics, biology in this instance. So what? Not real science then. Not going to be experienced in any physical way. All right. So
Like
definitely
rotation.
outside. Go on, whoever it is that wants to.
It's like rotation, isn't it? The same again. You're not going to experience it in a physical way. Oh, so you won't feel it, express it. You just got to trust them, trust the numbers that time has dilated for you. You won't feel it. Just like you won't feel rotation.
There's an actual property of the fabric of space and time under those.
Time is not a fabric. That's a reification fallacy. Time is a description. That's conceptual. Fabric is something I can stretch out and roll balls on. That's not what we're going to be talking about if we're detailing the concept of time, though. Time is not a fabric. Can't be bent like fabric could be bent, because time's a concept. You don't bend concepts.
Those conditions.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing? Wow. No, you're just being hoodwinked by probably one of the best magicians known to man. That would be Neil deGrasse Tyson, a magician. Shout out to Retro Bill, who says, "Bravo, Nathan. This show just keeps improving with age." Oh, thank you very much. Really appreciate the support.
That was a pun on time.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Fascinating.
It is. It's completely fascinating. It's completely. So I watch you fly by, and the faster you go, the
What? You watch him fly by, Do you? When did that happen? When do you see this? What are we witnessing that shows this as a demonstration with time being slowed down? Oh, right, you've got some stuff, some watches up in satellites, haven't you, that you would claim shows this, wouldn't you?
Can I point out something that's wrong with this? Because
Yeah, go ahead.
I love relativity. When you have speed, part of that measurement is time, miles per hour. So if you stretch out an hour and you go the same distance, then you've effectively done nothing. There's no way to describe it. So it's meaningless to say that you dilated or contracted time. It affects nothing to say that.
I see. So he's using this inconsequential claim, if you break it down logically, to make assertions about your worldview. Because if you actually break it down, as I've just said, it doesn't actually make any difference, because the qualifier of the concept of stretching or bending space-time comes with the speed within the description, because you've got it as distance over time. So it's just completely self-defeating. I've never recognised that before. It's so bloody obvious now you say it, John. I love feeling thick. I like it a lot. Right, you do this a lot to me, John. I like this. This is great. How stupid. So within the qualifier of him saying it speeds up or slows down, hold on. Wouldn't the speed itself have that within the qualification mathematically, like speed being distance over time? This is totally self-defeating. What a load of old nonsense, Tyson. Well caught. Kudos, John.
The slower time ticks for you, okay?
But my time stays the same.
To you.
To me, right.
To you. So not only does speed...
To me, to you, to you, to me.
Speed do this, also the strength of a gravitational field.
Strength? Like how you measure it as a force? Oh, George Musa, gravity is not a force. Professor Brian Cox, there isn't really a force of gravity at all. What are you babbling about? What are you going to measure?
Will have the same effect on you.
Effect?
Space-time bending strength, Nathan.
So effect on us? What, a non-force force that you can think of as a force that isn't actually a force will have an effect on us? Oh, definitely not.
Stronger the gravitational field is, the
stronger. Back to this assertion of strength. No, bending geodesics in space-time, you've just told the man, have no effect on him. To him, to you, to me, to you, won't have any effect. Now you're describing the effect it'll have on him. No wonder he's got a face like a slapped arse.
Mass is the only thing that can have an effect,
and that wasn't
that can cause the effect that they're talking about.
Precisely.
Only a mass that bends.
You were being rumpused by Neil deGrasse Tyson. It was an outrage. Can you say that again? You're absolutely spot on, though. I heard what you said.
Yeah. In their paradigm, the only thing that can cause the effect of gravity is a mass that bends space and time.
He can't bend time. It's a concept. We covered that initially, didn't we? This is a good video. Who said this? 10th, of course.
Formulated until his general...
Mass is only a calculation. Mass is only a calculation. There's no such thing as mass.
10 years later. That took a lot more math and
Nathan,
deeper.
may I interject real quick, please? If you don't mind.
Love your comments. Go ahead, D-Rose.
Okay. You guys are aware that the same guy that he always speaks to in these videos is this. I'm not seeing the video, but is it supposed to be a alleged African-American gentleman that he's speaking with?
It's a good-looking brother with a beard.
He's a comedian. He's a comedian. He's not even a serious interviewing, podcast, reporting, journalistic individual. He's a stand-up comedian who is an F-rated, F-list actor. Okay, so now you have two clowns on here. See, this is the whole irony of they shoving nonsensical BS in our faces. This is a comedian that's interviewing him. So this is as relevant of science as Big Bird speaking with a guest on Sesame Street. Just to let you know, and I'm out.
It's Chuck Nice.
That's a great analogy.
Name.
It's who?
Chuck Nice. Comic co-host Chuck Nice.
That might be the best analogy I've ever heard in my life.
Can you say stuff off again?
Hold on, what was the analogy?
Big Bird
on no more relevant to science than Big Bird on Sesame Street.
Yeah, respect.
Exactly.
Wait, Chuck
Big Bird interviewing Neil deGrasse Tyson.
So once again, it makes sense because you're dealing with the fabric of space-time.
No, you're not. Time is not a fabric. You're not dealing with anything. Show me time. Show me you bending it. Show me stretching it out like a fabric. What's that? You can't give me a bag of time? Definitely not. We're not dealing with anything that's bending in relation to time. It's definitely not a fabric.
It's a fabric of space-time. Correct.
Wow. Okay.
But initially, when formulated, you're thinking it's just because you're moving.
Right.
But it's actually way deeper than that.
You just told him he was standing still and nothing would change for him, but now he's moving and he would think certain ways, would he? You bloody magician? No.
And that's why that one, oh, by the way, his original special theory of relativity was not called that. The title of the research paper was On the Electrodynamics of Moving Bodies.
Right, okay. Relevance being?
What?
Okay, that was the title. We would
So what? What's the relevance?
later call it the special theory of relativity because it was a special case of what would later then be called the general theory of relativity. Oh.
Anybody? No?
While we're there, let me just slip this in. The GPS satellites orbit higher than...
Orbits are begging the question fallacy. The assumption that Earth is a sphere with a radius value with things falling around it. Why would we assume such nonsense? Because we see things up in the sky? No, definitely not. I don't assume that things are falling around antipodal from my position and then coming back up to be above my head at the horizon. Furthermore, I know the horizon isn't the edge of a sphere for things to fall around. So no, I can debunk every aspect of orbits that you're making this man assume.
Than like the space station and other things that are in what we call low Earth orbit.
Low Earth orbit.
No, nothing's in low Earth orbit. There is no low Earth orbit. Nothing's falling around a sphere shape. You'd have to have a sphere edge horizon, you'd have to have an R value, and you'd have to have the presupposition of Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion, aka orbits, when asserting that things are falling around each other, merely based on what you look at in the sky and infer after you see the repetition of lights in different positions over the course of weeks, years, however long you look. This doesn't mean that we have the moon falling around us or men in a sky vacuum, low Earth orbit. None of that's true. We don't have orbits. It's a begging the question fallacy, and every aspect you use to justify that begging the question fallacy has been debunked.
They're in like MEO, the middle Earth orbit. There's Leo, MEO, and GEO.
All bollocks.
Okay. If you have kids, maybe you name them that.
Yeah.
Maybe. Or you could just beg the question of things falling around a sphere Earth with an edge that we've debunked and an R value that we've debunked in a sky vacuum that we've debunked. This begging the question fallacy doesn't fly with us.
Yes. Leo, Meo, and Geo.
Yeah, let's have a good laugh about this begging the question fallacy nobody's going to question at this point.
Low Earth orbit, middle Earth orbit, and geosynchronous, geo orbit. Okay.
Yeah, all bollocks. There is no orbit. Nothing is falling around Earth. There is no R value to make it an assertion in the mathematics, and there's no sphere edge horizon for them to fall over. We've debunked every aspect of this.
Right. So the geosynchronous satellites are like middle orbit.
No, they're not. Nothing is falling around Earth.
That is far enough away from Earth's.
Based on the R value, you're going to tell us how far they are based on the sphericity of Earth and its R value and the derived distances using that calculation? We've debunked R.
Source of gravity.
No, definitely not.
For them to have a measurably different space-time condition.
There is no condition in space-time. It's not physical. It's a conceptual medium you've bent. This is all nonsense. From this point forth, every word out of this man's mouth is complete nonsense.
Oh.
So that their clocks tick faster than...
Told you, called it.
Our clocks on Earth's surface.
That's his claim to be feasible demonstration of his begging the question fallacies of orbits and orbital motion, Kepler's third law, his R value that he hasn't got to measure or assert it, and things falling around a sphere edge horizon. That's his justification. This time parlor trick, this clock parlor trick.
Because they're farther away.
Go on. Go on.
Yeah. Just to point out, it's going to jump on what John was saying earlier as well. Just to point out something. If the clocks within his model are ticking faster when they're 10,000 miles away from the surface of his globe, then that means they also could never be in what he's calling geocentric orbit. It would be impossible.
Geosynchronous.
Geosynchronous. I have the word all mixed up. They could never be in that orbit, which means that they hold a GP position over the globe Earth at all times. That same GP position stays. They basically orbit with the rotation, basically, right? they could never do that because they are technically within their paradigm. Now, we're not talking about reality here. We're talking about within their paradigm, remember. Within their paradigm, it would be impossible for that. It would be impossible for that to happen because time is moving faster for them, which means that they are also moving faster. So that would be an impossibility. Just sort of throw that out.
Yeah, you wouldn't just be doing an adjustment, would you, for the supposed orbital speed required at 200,000 miles or whatever? You wouldn't just be doing that. You'd be having to do the time dilation calculations differential, wouldn't you? So that it didn't lose orbit. If time's moving at a different speed, then you've got to account for that, haven't you? Because if time's moving at a different speed, and as John said earlier,
hold on, I can't bear it because of what John said earlier.
Yeah.
If time's moving at a different speed over distance over time.
Yes, exactly. Brilliant.
Total doublespeak.
So remember I said the more intense the gravitational field is, the slower time ticks. So they're farther away. Their time ticks faster relative to us.
Yeah, total garbage. A parlor trick that is used to justify an entire worldview and fabrics of time bending is this, with the presupposition of orbital motion. Garbage.
Wow.
But we get precise timings from geosynchronous satellites.
No, there are no geosynchronous satellites, otherwise known as geostationary.
So how does this work? We pre-correct the time signal from the GPS satellites to compensate for.
I was taking the mick when I was agreeing with Brian, saying he's now actually claiming he's adjusting for time dilations when they send these satellites off. They pre-correct for the time dilation they're going to create.
Yeah, they move the hand forward a little bit.
Well, you know what they're actually doing? They're taking the Cartesian coordinates when you do that and bend it to create the sphere, then your measurements are off.
Correct. And they're correct for that. That's exactly what they do. So while they say that their time is altered by the height and therefore gravity, that's the basic bullshit that they're laying down here. All right, well, where do you get the timings? What's that if you push the distances out and base it all on R? Yeah, we did cover this, but that was a much better summary, John.
Einstein's general theory of relativity, so that by the time the time reaches us, well, it's been properly corrected and it matters to us and our space-time continuum, not the one that's at Middle Earth orbit.
Middle Earth orbit based on R. So what, the one that isn't incorrect if you haven't introduced the R value and derived the measurements from it? We debunked R. Go on, whoever that was from G+.
By the time reaches us, it's been corrected. It's just waffling nonsense, isn't it? Unless he's going to tell me how he's going to now correct time as well. Does he straighten it out? Straighten it back out?
Yeah, you can unbend a geodesic in space-time, I'm sure. Why not?
I think fiddle with the second hand's probably more accurate, Nathan, isn't it? It's just fanciful.
One more little bit.
Oh my goodness.
So GPS couldn't work as accurately as it does.
However, wait a minute.
What?
I'm sorry, just for me. You would have to have
a flat Earth for the GPS to work because it's using Euclidean Cartesian coordinates. So it's not even going to work on a sphere. GPS requires a flat Earth. Brian, can you just give that a 60-second summary?
1 second, Nathan.
Nah, you're not going to get it, I'm afraid, ladies and gentlemen. Brian's being awkward.
I will. 1 second. Yeah. GPS uses three-dimensional Cartesian coordinates, two-dimensional and three-dimensional. Two-dimensional is X and Y, which is east-west and north-south, and three-dimensional uses the Z, which is up-down. So what that is a series of squares or cubes, and they all have to be the same exact dimensions, and they all have to fit with each other exactly. So that can't ever happen. It's a coordinate system that can never be used over a consistently curving surface.
with that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on an after show. Another massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!